Hello and welcome to today's Urban Conversation. Today's episode brings you the inside scoop on the coolest thing that's happened in the Indian automobile sector in recent times. India's first electric car maker has just launched the Mahindra E2O. I catch up with Chetan Maini, the co-founder of Reva and now the Chief of Strategy and Technology at Mahindra Reva, to discover fascinating features of this new car. In our conversation, Chetan also offers insights on the future of clean tech in the Indian automobile sector. Thanks to Vivanta by Taj and Shopper Stop for supporting this episode. Chetan, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Tell me about how you first got into, this industry of electric cars. When did you create your first electric car?
Well, right from when I was a kid, I was really into cars. So I probably made my first remote control car at the age of 10. And was always passionate about it, probably more on the sportier side of it. But then when I was at the University of Michigan, I had a chance to be part of a solar car team where we raced across the US. And we stood first, and General Motors sponsored us to race across Australia. And we crossed 3,200 kilometers across the Australian outback and stood third in the world. I think that to me was an eye-opener. The fact that you could cross a continent on sun energy to me meant the future was great. The first parts of Reva started there, where 3-4 of us who were part of the team later on would meet up once a month to say, hey, let's put a business plan together. That led to one of my friend's fathers, who was our guide, saying, that's a great idea, let's do a startup company. And I worked for a startup company in California, where the idea of Reva was born, in 1994.
Tell me about E2O. That's the latest from Reva to hit the roads, right? I know a few things about it. I've test driven it. I know it's integrated with a mobile app, and then it also comes with its own solar panels that can charge the car. And there's lots of cool ideas about it. And also lots of thought that's gone into designing the factory out of which it's coming. So tell me all about it.
Well, the whole idea was that when we today had over 4,000 cars in over 20 countries, and we got a lot of feedback from customers to say what are they looking for. And for us, it was a kind of shift in seeing, is the future really going where it is? You go down your streets and you say, cars are getting bigger, but I go slower. Cars are getting faster, but I don't get to my place in time. We talk about inflation, we still continue to buy oil. So why can't you think a little bit differently? So the first key idea of the E2O was, can we actually have a car run in the sun? Going back to my solar car days, I said, wait a minute, if we can have cars that run in the sun and have free energy for the next 30 years, that makes a lot of sense. So actually using a 3 meter by 3 meter panel, small size of it, that could be in your office or at home, you can actually charge your car and get over 15,000 kilometers in a year. We then questioned and asked ourselves, why should certain things happen? Why should we paint panels, and why can't they be dent-proof? So we created dent-proof battery body panel technology that also was completely recyclable and had color impregnated into it. So we all have our little crashes in city driving, but now you can just buff it out and continue. Right.
And I think kicked the car and nothing happened, so
yes.
I know, yes.
We also, it's of course automatic, which means city driving is a pleasure. But if you go up a hill and put your foot off the accelerator pedal, the car holds itself there, doesn't slide down. So little features that help people get from point A to point B very easily. And then we've tried to say that cars really need to be connected. Today, cars are very smart. We have over 10 onboard computers. You are connected to your grid, but you're also connected to your car. So we actually have mobile apps, be it on your iPhone or BlackBerry or Android device. And you can actually just take your app and access everything in your car. So you can actually turn on your air conditioning on this area. You could actually unlock your car. You could schedule when to charge. On Google Maps, you can find how far you want to go and put that together. And even when you're going on a vacation, you can just press a button and say, I'm going on a vacation, the car takes care of itself. And one cool new feature was a technology called Revive. So we had customers often come to us and say, hey, what if I run out of energy? And it was context. What we found was actually a perception. And the person was concerned that when his wife is driving the car and taking his 3-year-old kid to school, would they run out of charge like the mobile phone did? So we came up with a new technology called Revive, where you can just press a button on your smartphone, and within a minute, we access your car, and we give it around 8 to 10 kilometers of energy, and you can get home.
Wow.
So the idea was to rethink what is going to be the future mobility. Relook at aspects. You hardly need to service your car anymore. I think how often you service your fan in your house. Yeah. And then if I can remotely access your car, I can actually fix it for you at night. So when you look at convenience, we try to take it to a next level, and these consumer insights were great. And with a host of these innovations, we have over 10 first in the world and first in India technologies that are going to come out on the E2O.
That's fantastic. So you've not only, thought about how you can apply eco-friendliness at a mass level in the automobile industry, but you've also thought about how cars can be much more, intuitive, I think, in terms of usability.
Yes, yeah. I think that's very important, because when we asked customers, they said, to me the future was, can things be clean? Can they be connected like your smartphone? Can they be convenient? Can they be clever with the 10 onboard computers? For example, if you ever have a park car in your house, the car can actually power your house. Now that's being clever. It's kind of taking care of using energy that you have into this. And most importantly, can they be cost effective and affordable? So be it the fact that you never need to drop of petrol, to you hardly needing service, are new ways of creating cost effectiveness in products.
I've been to your factory, I've had a look around, and I was told that there are a lot of elements in the design of the factory itself that drives home the point of eco-friendliness and energy efficiency. And you probably have the first green factory in the automobile sector in India. Is that right?
Yes, it's actually the first platinum-rated green facility in India. And the whole idea was that our philosophy of born green need to come right through. Every car leaving our facility gets its first charge from solar energy. And that's the way we relook at it. 35% of our plant is powered by solar energy. We use processes that are very energy efficient. We, for example, don't paint our body panels. We bond them instead of welding them, so that we remove even the little pollutants that would come in manufacturing. We have completely recycled water. We have solar charging even for employee cars. Even things like our test equipment, for example, when the car is being tested at the end of the line in our dynamometers, the energy that we comes out from the dynamometer is put back in the grid and used for the other aspects. So we've tried to conserve energy in each aspect of the plant. The plant also had to be a great place for people to work at. So natural lighting, natural ventilation, night lighting with energy efficient LEDs, a host of other things that we actually put in to really feel good. Our whole idea was, can we actually not only produce green cars, but have vehicles with the lowest carbon footprint of anything that's made globally? And I think that's the first step in that direction.
Obviously, first getting an electric car on the Indian roads, and then developing something that's so smart wouldn't have been a process without challenges. So tell me about the challenges that you faced.
I think the challenges were different at different steps of the game. I think initially it was a lot of technology challenges, because we just didn't have technology. And we had to do a lot of invention. The first 5 years went in creating core ideas and technologies and patents that powered us. And then it was getting a team. You just can't get people to work in electric cars. So building a team, training them was the next level of looking at expertise and doing that. Even when we had to certify our cars earlier, there wasn't a certification process in India, and you had to work with it.
And you had to put that process in place.
Entire process in place. And how do you test these cars? So we made our own special test processes to look at it. In the early days, it was even getting financing for companies and trying to, when you're coming up with a new idea, the first question everyone asked you, where else in the world does it work? Well, we can't start from India too, sometimes. So
absolutely. And how are you going to make money? Is this going to sell?
So I think it kept moving along. But today I see the challenges ahead of us are actually, we got technology right, we've got all the macro things right, is actually consumer adoption.
So when you think of mobility and the future, thinking of the sheer number of cars that are hitting the road every day in India, and the size of the population as we're growing, and the economy, as well as we see continued growth, what do you foresee? Or rather, what do you wish for the future in this sector?
Well, I think that unlike the West, where we're growing at 2%, the impact is very minimal. In India, as we're growing 20% every year, In 5 years, that's almost doubling what we had. And so therefore, the impact is huge. So the changes we need to make cannot be incremental. The changes have to be made much bigger. So I think it's very critical that clean cars that are self-energy efficient are going to be very important to make a breakthrough in what we're trying to do.
You know, when you think about change, not just from a technological point of view, but also from a sociocultural point of view, it's not something that an individual entrepreneur, you know, no matter how large the business, can bring about. It's something that requires collaboration, you know, and a lot of individuals and bodies will have to collaborate, and change has to come about both from a policy level and from a attitudinal level, social level.
Yes, very much.
So, you know, how's that going for you? And who are you collaborating with?
Well, I think there's been a good change. 10 years ago, when we first launched the car, the government actually doubled the taxes and removed subsidies. But today, there's been a national mission electric vehicle that's been announced. It's a 23,000 crore policy that 2 weeks ago was announced by the Prime Minister of India.
Wow.
It's a mission electric vehicles with the idea of putting 6 to 7 million electric vehicles on the roads by 2020. So I think this is important because what the government is saying, it's not a one-year budget, but it's a long-term policy. And I think the country needed that. That's what President Obama did, that's what the Premier of China did, and those have led to dramatic shifts in what we've seen there. I think the second is a set of public-private partnerships. Infrastructure needs to come up, and this needs such collaborative efforts. It also needs a change in mindsets. And I think this is going to come from the younger generations. They're asking questions, you know, why do we actually need to pollute? Why can't we go differently? Why can't we rethink the way we are mobile? So it needs to be a social side, a policy side, and a public-private partnership to really make this happen.
So this new policy from the government, you know, what does that mean to you at REVA?
Well, the new policy has a great amount of direction that's coming in. More than just a financial incentive, it's going to trigger the entire country and the ecosystem be built up. In a direct terms, the policy is going to offer end subsidies to customers. It's going to have R&D budgets. That means people can really start to invest in electric vehicles. And it's also going to invest in infrastructure and building it up. So I think these are the direct benefits. But the indirect benefits are the fact that when governments set long-term policies, each state government looks at differently. Each civic body says, hey, why can't we put charging station for people? People start to say, if this is a problem for the country, we should be part of it. So I think that to me is the more intangible benefits that are going to come through that are going to make a difference in this area.
Okay, fabulous. Fantastic having you on the show. Thank you so much, Chintan.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Join our mailing list at chaiwithlakshmi.in/subscribe and keep in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and Pinterest.